When you really look into their journey together, understand the adversity, the time invested, and the challenges they faced along the way, you can fully soak in how two extremely motivated, extremely passionate men didn't take their nation to back-to-back World Cups by luck. No, it was simply two geniuses at work. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, let me introduce to you the most successful coaches in rugby history. This is Rassie Erasmus, and this is Jacques Nienaber. The record books will say Rassie was the 2019 World Cup winning coach and Nienaber was the 2023 winning coach. And while the spotlight's always heavily focused on Rassie and his controversies, these two really are a coaching tandem and have stood side by side with each other for an extremely long time. These two have actually known each other for almost 30 years. In fact, it was a sheer coincidence that the two masterminds crossed paths in the army in the early 90s. From there, they attended uni together and became very close friends. Now, this is where it gets even crazier. So Jacques Nienaber landed a job as physio for Free State Provincial Rugby Team once finishing university, the same team which had Springbok flanker Rassie Erasmus. While being good friends already, it would be their discussions during physio sessions which made Erasmus appreciate his colleagues' clarity of thought and ability to analyse the game. It's almost unbelievable just how much their paths kept aligning with each other. So when did the duo actually start coaching together? Well, as soon as Rassie hung up the boots. He became head coach of the rugby side Free State Cheetahs and brought in Nienaber as a conditioning coach. It would be his passion, knowledge and interest in the defensive side of the game and brilliant communication skills with players that would see his journey move from a conditioning coach to a defensive coach. So he was slowly climbing up the ranks working under Rassie Erasmus at the time. And it was pretty much from this moment on they stuck together like glue, running the show at the Free State Cheetahs, the Stormers and Munster before getting an SOS call from South African Rugby in 2017. It wasn't ever a negotiation of getting one or the other, they came as a ticket. Despite all the glory we see now, their time in charge of the Springboks was almost over before the success really started. Right at the start of their tenure in 2018, they'd lose consecutive games to Australia and Argentina. Their third game would come against the All Blacks in New Zealand, and another loss would have seen the resignation of the entire coaching staff. Fortunately, they went on to win their first game in New Zealand in 9 years, taking a 2-point victory over the All Blacks. They would continue to have mixed results before really turning a corner in 2019, claiming the Rugby Championship and the Rugby World Cup. While performance saw a huge uptick for the Springboks, there'd be a number of controversies surrounding Rassie Erasmus that would see him as one of the most disliked personalities in the game, and really many attempts to cancel him. His most famous incident would occur during the 2021 British and Irish Lions series. He started a rogue Twitter account under the alias Jaco Johan to publicise his frustrations with officiating at the time, and then he went on to retweet these on his own personal account. With a storm brewing around his treatment of the referees, Rassie went all in, uploading his infamous hour-long video putting the referees under the microscope publicly. With all the evidence put forward, he was given a 2-month ban. Some say the consequences weren't harsh enough, with more Rassie tweets coming out at the end of 2022 after their match against France in the Autumn Nation series, which saw him given another suspension. This time, it would only be 2 games. Say what you want about him though, you can't deny, there is a real genius side to Rassie that also lands him in hot water. In the same series against the British and Irish Lions in 2021, he gave himself the waterboy responsibilities on game day to openly give his team instructions on the field. He was heavily scrutinised and pretty much straight after this happened, World Rugby banned coaches from being waterboys. Which is kind of funny, but you have to give him credit, it's a smart play. You see, that's one thing about the incredible intelligence of Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber combined. They're always looking for a tactical advantage over the opposition and they usually find it. While Rassie is the outspoken of the two, Nienaber will also do whatever it takes. No better example of this than him using his physio qualifications to be a present on the field during the 2019 World Cup. The exact same thing that landed Rassie in hot water, Nienaber was able to achieve flying under the radar. And while it may sound nice, it's not the undeniable commitment, friendship and passion that has led the Springboks to back-to-back World Cups. And this next part is probably the most important piece in their success. It's two longtime friends that absolutely love outplaying their counterparts. I mean, think about it. Their game plan alone of kicking for territory, pressuring opposition teams in the air and dominating the set piece, it's high percentage strategy. Same with the way they exploit overpowered parts of the game better than anyone else. Mauls, scrums and lineouts are the Springboks' biggest strengths. They go in with the mindset of how can we get the biggest advantage possible. And it's a mindset that's used in every part of their coaching. Hear me out, in 2019 the pair noticed that backs on the bench were more there for injury cover and not so much impact. So they introduced the infamous Bomb Squad. A tip of the hat to their military days, that essentially meant having 6 replacement forwards on the bench instead of the traditional 5. A decision that would give the Springboks that extra advantage on so many occasions throughout their World Cup campaign. The duo would more recently send World Rugby into a storm when they announced 7 replacement forwards on the bench. Labelled risky and careless at a glance, it was an extremely ambitious, yet well calculated move. They had the utility players needed to pull it off and gained a massive mental edge over their opposition. Imagine knowing almost an entire fresh forward pack will be subbed onto the field before the game even starts. And when you go into it a little deeper, these players were coming onto the field much earlier than other teams' replacements. A decision that proved to be so clever for a number of reasons. It reduced the fatigue of their players. If a replacement was to get injured, they can bring a player back onto the field after having a rest, and they'd always ensure they had the bomb squad on the field against tiring opposition for a decent period of time, forcing scrum penalties and the opposition coaches into damage control. It's the geniuses behind the team that made sure the Springboks went into both World Cup finals with much fresher legs than their opposition. It's the geniuses behind the team that unconditionally embrace a full squad approach to ensure all 30 players are contributing. It's the geniuses behind the team that take a mathematically correct approach to the game, employing a game plan of tactical leverage and advantage. It was the hard work of 2 extremely motivated, extremely passionate geniuses at work that drove their nation to back-to-back World Cups, shaped by decades of friendship, teamwork, and overcoming adversity along the way. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions of Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus, but there's one thing no one can deny. They're leaders, they're pioneers of the modern game as they continue to revolutionise rugby with their decisions. What the future holds for these two, who knows? These two are set to go their separate ways. While Rassie's set to stay with South African rugby until 2025, Nienaber is heading overseas to coach Leinster in 2024, resigning as the Springboks coach. Will these two, who are inevitably stronger together, cross paths again? I sure hope so.